Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories.
This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user Think. Boyfriend, 32 male, made me, 26 female, wait outside his house for 3.5 hours because he was upset. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 3 months, and when we're having fun, it's really fun. But he's very possessive and very discouraging towards me, and I pointed that out to him today. We were snowboarding. This is my first season, and I've practiced enough to become a hella good beginner. My friends and acquaintances have noticed and pointed that out, which is nice. My boyfriend, on the other hand, always seems to discredit my improvement. Today, he told me that because I wasn't as good a boarder as him, I couldn't make it through a path. I told him I could try, and he said, and I quote, "I know for a fact that you can't keep up, so it's not a good idea for you." Needless to say, I cleared the trail, thank you very much. I fell twice, but I had a great time doing it. I don't need to keep up to be able to clear the trail and have fun. Met him back at the lifts and told him I didn't really appreciate the way he puts me down. He got super defensive and told me he hates pointless bickering. Started raising his voice mid-lift with people around about how he doesn't know why I'm mad. Then, at the top of the lift, he goes down a different run. Turns out, he left without me, but was too upset to let me know. At this point, my knees hurt from the hill, so I call it a day and head back to his place. All my stuff is at his place. So I get back there about 20 minutes later and boyfriend isn't home. Doors locked. I call him and he tells me, I quote again, "I needed to take a walk because I'm really upset right now. I don't plan on coming back anytime soon, so if you want your stuff, you can take a walk or wait somewhere." I was livid and hung up on him. He made me wait outside in below zero weather for 3.5 hours. My phone died, so I couldn't call him anymore. Not that he answered any of my phone calls anyway. I called about 15 times. When my fingers started to freeze, I also had to pee. During one of the hours, I cried on a golf course bench in front of some vacation homes. I kept asking myself if I deserved to be treated this way over expressing myself. This entire tantrum was because I confronted him about his negative criticism and he didn't like that? The reason I mentioned he's possessive is because he treats me like I'm a sacred item no one can approach. If any male talks to or approaches me, he instantly becomes sulky and unresponsive. I went to a bar in the hotel I work in last night with all my coworkers, and boyfriend got upset. I was putting makeup on, saying guys will try to lay me down in a minute, or saying I'm getting pretty for other men. At one point, he said he was coming to protect me from other guys and said he'd throw down if he had to. He was literally saying he'll start a fight if a guy talks to me. I told him he was not invited and went without him. Had a great time with my friends. Not getting hit on, by the way. I believe everyone deserves a chance, even if they're broken. Hell, I can be a bitch sometimes because I'm hella broken. But I would never ditch someone knowing they're coming back to my place and make them wait for hours in the cold. When I finally got inside, I didn't talk to him. Still haven't. All he said to me was, "I'm really effed up right now, so..." Basically implying I shouldn't talk to him. I've been deciding for hours if I should break up with him. He's honestly great otherwise. We have a lot of fun together and I do like him a lot, so it's hard for me to really decide. Not that I depend on any relationship like this, but it's hard to find men who want a relationship where I'm living. So that's definitely a plus on his side. I'd like some averagely critical advice or perspectives, please. Normally, I welcome harsh criticism because sometimes we all need it, but I cried a lot today. Not something I do a lot of anymore. I would really appreciate it, y'all. Well, P, you should definitely break up 3 months in, and he's a whiny baby, a 32-year-old baby that behaves this way, left you in the cold because you told him, "Hey, I don't like you putting me down," which is absolutely the thing to do. You know, you're being assertive. Good on you. So let's do the pros and cons, starting with the cons. He's controlling, he's possessive, he cannot take criticism, and he's got the ego the size of a skyscraper. He's not a partner, he's a competitor. Now, there's a lot more cons, but let's keep the list short. Now, on the pros, he lives in your area and maybe a bit fun. OP, you can definitely do a lot better, and in this case, the saying applies. It's better to be alone than having bad company. This guy is definitely the latter. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's check out the community comments. Real Madame Psychosis says, quote, "My boyfriend doesn't see me as a person with unique skills and perspectives, but rather as an accessory to his lifestyle he can possess and punish for stepping outside the boundaries of the way he sees me. He's honestly great otherwise." End quote. Come on, OP. There are a lot of people who you can have fun with who will not lock you out of the house. Crosswalk Zebra says, "Does someone that makes you wait for 3 hours in sub-zero weather sound normal? Especially over a comment like that? OP, take it from someone who had this sort of fight at some point too. My ex locked me out and I had to walk over to his parents to ask for shelter. I had effed up way more than you had, but there are limits to what you are supposed to make another person endure and to how you can express being pissed. Locking someone out in the cold is punishing you to make you feel it. How dare you anger him and be more than what he thinks you are? On top of that, he is also controlling in general, being suspicious about other men and everything. I say no. He is already in the red as far as his scary controlling behavior, and now this. If you dump him, know that you have probably avoided an abuser." Deleted says, "Break up yesterday. This guy's personality is common. Being possessive and discouraging are two basic traits of seriously insecure people who feel better with themselves when they put other people down. His behavior will only worsen as you spend more time with him. I'm afraid he will start being too jealous at some point. Best thing you have to do is break up." Female and Computer says, "Your boyfriend tried to beat down your self-esteem and got pissed at you for standing up for yourself. That's a red flag even on its own. Not to mention all the toxic possessive crap and leaving you out in the cold. Your boyfriend is super abusive and you're still in the honeymoon stage of the relationship. It can only get worse from here." Yes, everyone has problems. Everyone has baggage of some kind, but most people don't use it as an excuse to abuse others. You can do better. If you think you can't, look into therapy. It can be seriously helpful, and a professional can help you see your worth and avoid toxic relationships in the future. And Sandy Soul says, "From how I read this, you seem like a very fun and independent woman who is just trying to enjoy life. Why would you want such a negative energy in your life, especially from someone who is supposed to be uplifting and encouraging towards you? Your boyfriend sounds like a jerk, honestly. I know you didn't want harsh criticism, but I feel like this is a nice word for his behavior towards you. If he got mad at something as trivial as snowboarding, who knows what else his anger could evolve to? My grandmother told me, when someone shows you their true colors, believe them. He has shown you that he can be a bully who is willing to let you freeze just to prove a point. What that point is, I have no clue." I definitely agree that we all have our faults, but this seems to be excessive in my opinion. There are a lot of red flags. The jealousy, the controlling tendencies, harsh words, everything may be great otherwise, but it's still early on in the relationship, so you can let go now instead of later. You are also young. You will meet someone who will lift you up and make you feel good about life, and you will realize that's what's healthy. You deserve so much better. Well, the community unanimously agrees that OP needs to dump this guy and move on with her life. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. It would have taken me forever to answer every response individually, so here I am making an update. I hope anyone who responded can see. First of all, I appreciate every piece of advice or opinions given, good or bad. Gave me a lot of different perspectives to the situation. To clear something up, I am in no way perfect and have made mistakes. Some comments presumed I was trying to make myself look innocent in the situation, which in this particular situation, I was. It turns out when he finally allowed me inside, he was upset for a totally different reason than the ski hill episode. His anger wasn't even about my comment, about his criticism, and he actually never even acknowledged that he makes negative comments or locked me out. When I got into his house, I was exhausted, wet, and starving. I completely ignored him, ate his food, took a shower, and then I took a nap on his couch. I grabbed my stuff that I could carry, still have a few items at his place, including my snowboard I couldn't carry home, when I woke up and left. As I walked home, I blocked and deleted him from my social media. We work together, unfortunately, so I do have to see him at work, but I totally ignored his existence. I couldn't actually bring myself to talk to him without wanting to call him a see you next Tuesday, so I decided silence is the best option. My exes have all locked me out at some point during an argument, and he knew that. So to me, it seems like he knew that would hurt and did it too. We are no longer together. If he's going to change, it'll have to be on his own. I can't help him if it means I get punished if I do or say something he doesn't like in this kind of way. I'm hoping he doesn't throw my belongings left away. I texted him, still haven't spoken to him in person, that I would collect my things as soon as possible. I appreciate all the advice again. I didn't think this post would blow up as much as it did, honestly. Definitely helped me make my final decision. It was hard and I miss him already, but sanity over boys, y'all. Yeah, OP, I think you're absolutely right, but it should be sanity over idiots. Well done for making the right decision, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user DifferentYam8267. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he can't invite his female friend to my wedding? I'm getting married this summer. We're trying to keep it as small as possible, inviting 75, hoping 60 will come, by including only family and super close friends. I don't want to do a wedding at all, neither did my fiance, but my dad talked me into it. I'm still tempted to just elope and call the whole thing off. To make a long story short, my dad has this female friend who he has a weird history with. They've been friends over 15 years, and when they first became friends, my mom was suspicious of something going on. So I, then a teenager, went through his phone, which I know wasn't the best move, but I was doubting anything was happening at the time. I basically found all of these I love you texts and words between them that made me want to vomit. I confronted him about it and he says, "Oh, we're just friends, it doesn't mean anything," and was crying and throwing a fit that if I told my mom, she would leave him. Well, fast forward, I did tell my mom, and of course my dad puts all the blame on my mom for how this happened and he doesn't get his emotional needs met, blah blah blah. So my mom has basically told me to drop it, and so I have. But I'm still not happy with my dad and this woman's relationship. I also didn't mention she's married to a woman but is bisexual. She and my dad go on trips together. They're friends through biking and hiking clubs. Sometimes just the two of them. I just hate the whole situation. So now my dad asks me if he can invite this woman and her wife to my wedding. I said no. We have already set the guest list and I'm keeping it small. He pushes me on it and says he has this reason why it's important to him and that he's disappointed I don't trust him. Yeah, of course I don't. I know he's going to keep pressing me on it and I tend to give in when he's being manipulative. So am I the a-hole for telling him no? Of course not, OP. You're most definitely not the a-hole. It's simple. It is your and your fiance's wedding. You guys get to decide who comes, who doesn't, where it's held, everything. And your dad pushing you to invite his obviously affair partner at a minimum is ridiculous, and you can absolutely say no. Now, I don't know if he's paying for the wedding or paying for something for the wedding, whatever. He's gonna try to hold it over your head. Don't let him do it. If he does, then just cancel the whole thing and elope like you guys wanted. Because again, it is your and your future husband's wedding. That's it. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Please Coffee Me says, it's not your dad's wedding, so his reasons really aren't important. You already let him manipulate you into having a wedding. Don't let him take over the guest list and make it a party for him. Draw your boundary. Tell him you and your fiancé are this close to just saying no to the wedding and all of the stress and eloping. Not the a-hole. Terebu says, 1. If you and your fiancé don't want to do a wedding, don't. 2. Don't invite 70 and plan for 60. Set a hard RSVP date. Treat no response as a no. That's your numbers. 3. It's your day, no matter how you choose to do it. Invite who you want and not a person more. 4. Eloping seems to be a good idea in this situation. Gather the family and friends you want to after. Doesn't have to be the same day. It's better if it's not. And celebrate. 5. Not the a-hole. And Opie responds, thank you. I want to do this, but I'm afraid of disappointing everyone. We have some people that have booked their flights that are coming from overseas. Sideways Walk says, not the a-hole. This is your life and your wedding. You know he's being manipulative here and will continue to do so to try to get his way. If you want to continue letting him walk all over you and your mom, then fine, do what you tend to do. But if you've had enough and you know what he's doing, then don't even entertain him. Just keep repeating, no, she's not invited. You both will be asked to leave if she shows up. You act on it. He's not a person or a parent worth all of this. Haven't you noticed when a toddler is throwing a tantrum and you take a step back how ridiculous they look? I would probably look into therapy or work on it personally because it seems like growing up like this has crossed some wires. And What's Wrong with Folks says, not the a-hole. Never mind that you're trying to keep your wedding small. You just don't like this woman and that's more than enough reason to say no. He's an a-hole for pushing this issue and I'd tell him if he doesn't stop, then he can go ride a bike with her in your wedding day instead of coming. And Opie responds, okay, this made me laugh, but here's another detail. When I was deciding my wedding date, he wanted me to change it because of his bike ride they do every year. I was firm on the date, but I could literally tell him to go do his bike ride with her instead of coming. Well, the community agrees that Opie is not the a-hole, and yeah, the dad can just go take a bike ride. Now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I talked to my dad, rather he mostly yelled and I listened, and he told me the reason why it's important that this woman is invited. We had an initial venue that didn't work out and have now booked a new one that we're happy with. Apparently, when the initial venue cancelled, my dad's friend offered to him to have my wedding at her home without consulting me or even asking if I wanted to. This was never going to be an option because 1, I would have never agreed to it, and 2, his friend's wife said no. So because of this, my dad thinks I, owe it to her to invite her to the wedding, and he tells me I'm being immature and selfish for not agreeing. I stayed strong though, and at the end of the call, he says he doesn't even care what I do anymore, and I should just get married at a courthouse. So, that's good, I suppose. Shrug. Good for you for staying strong, OP. You're having the wedding that you kind of didn't want to have, still the way you want to have it, and that's what's important here. So here's wishing you and your future husband the best. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge, and it's by user Hunting the Void. Argue over chair? Lose chair. There's this woman at work who I do not like for a wide variety of reasons that are not relevant here, except for the fact that she has worked there so long she thinks she owns the place. We call her Karen with a C. It's a warehouse type situation, so there are only a few chairs and very few people actually use them for their jobs. Naturally, Karen is one of them. However, the other shifts move the chairs around, so every day the chair is in my work area and she comes to collect it. This one day, I arrived 50 minutes early for my shift and hadn't had a chance to eat yet, so I'd got a pastry to devour. I sat in Karen's chair to do this, as it's in my area. Halfway through my pastry, Karen shows up. I tell her I'll bring her chair over to her when I'm done. There's still 40 minutes before shifts start. She just keeps arguing with me and trying to intimidate me into giving up the chair, and is finally like, I just want to put my coat on it. So I let her put her coat on it, but now my good mood is ruined and I'm fuming. I do not take her chair over to her. I shove it out of my area and make her collect it. The end of the day comes and I'm still pissed. So the next day I come in even earlier, grab her chair, take it to the lift up to the second floor, we're in the basement, and push it 500 meters across the floor to the furthest corner of whoever station that is to enjoy. Karen came in and found me sitting in a different chair, asked me if I've seen hers, and I said I hadn't. She spent 40 minutes looking for it. I saw her checking the nearest stairwell and had to settle for a different chair. She knows it was me, but can't prove it. I'm hoping she never finds it, but if she does, I'll let her keep it a while before repeating the procedure. She's very lazy, so the 500-meter walk is a good punishment on its own. Nicely done, OP. That is a petty revenge and perfectly well executed, tailored to Karen. Thanks so much for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.